Welcome to our next installment in the Tight 20 marketing series from Ballyhoo Digital, where we give you real, actionable marketing advice in a compact format that does not waste your time. I am your moderator. My name is Brian Petrovich. Today's episode will be 20 minutes of usable marketing advice. In episode 9 of our series, we discuss how many types of emails are there. How can I get the best return on my time and resources from email? And what are the best tools to use for email? We will also have a brief Q&A at the end, so please submit any questions via chat, and we will do our best to answer them as clearly as possible. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the founder and owner of Ballyhoo Digital, Scott Hicks.
Brian, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the kind words and introduction there. Well, at least they're accurate. I am the founder and owner. I don't know how kind that is, but it's good to see you.
Depends on what day, Scott. Depends what day.
That's right. Well, it's good to see some returning faces and some new faces out there in the crowd today. Very excited about this episode, as we are about all the episodes. And we do have a fair amount of information to cover here, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Again, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. You can submit them via the chat feature here. Also, we'll have some at the end of this, we'll have some contact information. If you have questions you want to send us directly or give us a call, that's okay as well. Plus, we'll have this available on YouTube, and we'll be replaying this, reposting it via LinkedIn as well. So, all right. So last week we talked about email a little bit, about the history of email and some of the uses and some broader concepts. And today we're gonna jump in a little bit more about how more specifically about how you can get the most out of your email. And let's see. Hopefully we're seeing this, Brian.
Yes, yeah, sir. We got it.
Okay, great. All right. So let's see here. There we go. So how many types of email are there? I guess this is one of the things that, question that we kind of get. I mean, there are a lot. That's really a pretty simple answer, but we've got your welcome email. So somebody signs up on your website. You get the welcome email, promotional email. Basically, that's an email where you send out to your client list or your potential customer list any special deals or promotions you have going on. Let them know about products and things like that. The thank you for purchasing email. That's a great one and useful. People like to know when they've made a purchase on your website. If you are an e-commerce website, they want to know. They want to have some confirmation that their purchase went through. So that's an important one. Let's see. Hang on one second. We have a couple of people here. We need to let in on the meeting. Sorry about that, guys. Shipping updates. Again, if you're an e-commerce company and you've sold something, people love to get an update on updates on when they can expect their products to arrive. Abandoned cart email, one of my favorites. We all know that. If they didn't buy, this is where you send it out to them and say, hey, remember you left this in your cart. How about coming back and buying it for them? The reminder email, this is a good one too, where if you're a service type of organization and you have people have appointments for your services, again, this is a great friendly little email that most people are not really offended to get. The reminder email. The newsletter email, of course, we all know this one, newsletter / informational, where you can get people on a list and you send them things that could be news articles, it could be updates of any sort, things that will that people might find useful. For example, a newsletter email from Ballyhoo Digital might include, hey, here is a link to the most recent Tight 20 webinar. So which emails should you use? No, there's no simple answer to that. It depends on type of business. Again, I've already mentioned a couple of types there. Your e-commerce business is going to have certain types of emails that maybe the eye doctor is not going to have, or that the landscaper is not going to have. So it really depends on the type of business and what it is you're trying to achieve. And this is a question that if you have been party to the Tight 20 since the beginning, this is a question that we ask all the time, and it's the thing that people tend to overlook, or they give too broad an answer to this. What do you want to achieve? Everybody wants to sell more, but what is it you want to sell more of? Or really, are you looking to sell something right now? Or are you looking to nurture a potential client for future purchases? So there, before you start any email campaign or decide which types of emails you want to use, you've got to figure out what it is you want to get out of those emails and be as specific as possible about it. The more specific you are about what it is you're trying to achieve, the better you can tailor the emails toward that objective, and the more effective they will be. So what does your customer base look like? Or what do they like? Well, again, a lot of folks do like reminder emails. They like, all kinds of things. They like informational emails for certain types of customer bases. They do want those informational or newsletter emails that can help them. This is particularly good for B2B, but it's good for just about any type of client where if you have good information to impart to people, they may like an informational email. If you have people who tend to buy your products frequently or are always interested in the products, your newest products, then you want your promotional email to let them know that, hey, this is the newest and best thing. So don't forget to test, and that's a big thing too. If you're paying attention to the effectiveness of your emails and the metrics that come out of your email campaigns, you'll get an idea of what it is that works best for your email list and for your client base. So that's always a thing. Again, if you've been with the Tight 20 since the beginning, then you realize that we're big on testing anything and everything. Throw it out there, pay very close attention to the results, and adjust as necessary. So when we talk about that, how do you know when, which email metrics are going to tell you whether or not you're being successful? There's a few basic ones that we can look at. The open rate for your email, that's one of the biggest ones. It's pretty simple. How many people of your or what percentage of your entire list opened the email once you sent it to them? 15% for a lot of, and it varies by industry. 15% is generally pretty good. You do better than that, then you can probably be pretty happy about it. Some email clients will give you some averages based on the type of industry that you're in. So then you can sort of benchmark against the industry average. But that's one of the biggest ones. How many people are actually opening your email? The click rate. This is even probably more important than the open rate, but it's certainly the next step. How many people are clicking on a link within your email to take them to your website or your online store or what have you? And so that's really both of these two metrics are very much in keeping with even the old snail mail marketing or direct mail marketing. And the principles are basically the same. Your first priority should be to get them to open it. Second priority should be to get them to take some sort of an action. And that's the click rate there. Unsubscribes is another hugely important number here. The people are always going to be unsubscribing from your email list. They're going to be coming on. You'll have new ones signing up, and you'll have people dropping out. Unsubscribes can tell you a little bit about whether or not they're enjoying the particular email, or whether or not you're providing something useful to them. And And that, again, always think of marketing as something that's going to be useful to your audience. You know, if you're sending them things that they're not interested in, eventually they're going to unsubscribe. So you want to keep unsubscribes low in general, but also don't think of it as an entirely bad metric. You can also think of it as weeding out people who are not going to take advantage of your services or your products anyway. What devices are they using? That's another great one, because again, you can and you should design your emails and design your content and messaging based on which devices people are going to use. I think we talked about this last week. In the B2B realm, when you're doing business to business, you tend to have more people opening emails on a desktop or a laptop, basically. That's the device that they use as a full screen device, because they tend to be looking for those types of services while they are at work for their jobs. So you can have different types of content for that. You can have longer content. You can have different types of call to actions or buttons, things like that. If you're a B2C company and you're trying to market to general consumers, generally speaking, the majority of people are going to be opening those emails in or on a phone. So now you've got a shorter attention span. You probably should have shorter messaging, and you should have more upfront calls to action. And that's something, you can learn this too. It isn't to say that anybody, that all B2B consumers are going to be using desktops or all B2C are going to be using phones. These are metrics you want to keep an eye on as you send your campaigns out, and you need to learn more about your particular customer base and what they like and what works best for them. So improving engagement, I'm not sure I love the term engagement, but I don't know a better one really. Engagement means just, getting people again to take action. That's the step toward getting them to buy your products or services. So how can we do that? How can we improve engagement? Well, essentially, as we said, the first step is getting them to open email. So you want an interesting subject line. I was reminded while I was putting this information together of a subject line that I wrote that did exceptionally well. And I couldn't find it. It was for one of our clients. And it said something like, "We're using the F word." And then once they opened it, they understood that the F word was for free. It stood for free, not the other F word. And it did great. The open rate was terrific. Client didn't like it all that much because they felt like that was they didn't love the implication of the F word. But they're still a great client. They still love most everything we do. So one small misstep on that. But again, you could do worse than that. So write an interesting subject line. It should be fairly short and to the point, and use an emoji if you can. Again, some types of industries might find that the emoji whimsical or too whimsical for their client base. I generally say that's I understand that, but people do like emojis and subject lines. It gets their attention. And that's really one of the biggest things. You want to get their attention with a subject line. You want them to be curious. You want them to open that email. And along those lines, preview text. That is the text that you can see in most email clients that just shows what the email is about. Again, it should be compelling. It should be interesting. Maybe tells a little bit more or about expands on the subject a little bit more. But it shouldn't say everything. You don't want to show everything right up front. But make it compelling, make it interesting. And then, of course, you want useful content on the inside. Always useful, always valuable in every single marketing channel we talk about. That your goal should be something that your client base or customer base finds interesting and valuable to them. That is how you get people engaged. Don't send them fluff. Don't send them pictures of puppy dogs and things like that. Just wanted to reach out and say hello. That's okay. I mean, if you are, if you're a veterinarian, something like that, that's fine. The point is, though, that people have a limited amount of time and they have limited patience, and you really want to give them something that's useful to them. And then don't forget CTAs, calls to action. Again, you really, if you want them to take action, you have to make it easy for them to do that. I love big buttons with interesting, not just click here types of text, but learn more here, buy this today, that sort of thing. And again, tailored to the specific message that you're trying to get across and the action that you really want them to take. So we had some questions last week about some email tools. And there are a couple that we'd recommend taking a look at. Writing emails and subject lines, content, things like that. Sometimes it can be a little bit of trial and error. Again, keeping in mind that you want people to take action. You want them to find your emails useful. Always think about the client and what they're going to like a lot. That being said, there are some things that you want to do to kind of make sure that your emails are deliverable. So going back to my earlier example about the F word, one of the reasons I came up with that subject line is that if you put the word free in a subject line, that tends to trigger spam filters. Save is another one. And there are a bunch of things like that. So that just made me think of using another expression instead of free. But there are some tools out there that will help you write your emails, help you write your subject lines, and give you some we'll be able to score whether the deliverability of your emails and how good they look. A couple of these are some email on acid has been around for quite a long time. Got a lot of great tools, and Litmus is another one. Both of these are really, really good, and like I said, established tools that have been around for years and years. I highly recommend them, at least taking a look at them and seeing what they can do for you. If you're on the smaller side, you may just find that your email client does a good enough job. I mentioned MailChimp is one of our favorites here, and it'll give you a little bit of advice about things. The subject line is a little too long, or it's a little too short, or you did a good job with this. So there are tools that are often built in to the email services. If you feel like you need a little bit more, these are the types of tools that we'd recommend. And just take a look, and there are way too many features for us to go over here, but you can think of it as scoring your emails and helping you optimize deliverability and engagement with that. So high ROI email is how we titled this episode. And so I thought we'd talk about the highest ROI emails. And probably our number one favorite is the abandoned cart email. Again, now this is specific to e-commerce folks. If you are selling things directly on your website, the abandoned cart email is just, I think the number was something like over 30% of people that got an abandoned cart email eventually bought from that email, went ahead and unabandoned the cart, as it were. The reason this one's such a good one is that, number one, if you're sending an abandoned cart email, you already have their email address. So they're already engaged with you as a company. Number two, they've already shown a really strong interest in the product because they've already put it in the cart. They just need a little nudge. And the abandoned cart email is really great for that. So if you are in e-commerce, absolutely, you have to put this one in. And it's an automated type of email too, not something you have to send to every person individually. The promotional email. Yeah, if you're having a sale, people want to know about it. Your customers want to know about it. They want to know if they can, save $50 on a lawn service, or that you have a brand new widget and you're offering 15% off for pre-orders. Those are the kinds of things that they want to know about. And again, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a sale, although sales do tend to generate that is, discounts tend to generate more sales, but it's absolutely not necessary. Just promoting your products and making sure that your folks, that the people on your list are aware of the services and products that you offer is tremendously helpful. And you can even think of it as, well, one of the things we'll talk about a little bit is nurture campaigns, which is this one coming up here. The nurture campaign is just keeping in front of folks. Some types of services have or products have longer lead times for sales. And so nurture campaigns are those campaigns that just remind those folks who are interested in your products or services, but it may take them longer to pull the trigger, that you're still around, that, and you want to be top of mind for them. Nurture campaigns generally are, again, they are generally automated, and they generally will send out somewhat regular emails to folks, again, apprising them of the services that you have available for them, and just reminding them that you're around. So that actually is going to cover pretty much everything we have for today. I'm a little surprised actually that we got to the end of this as quickly as we did. There's so much we could talk about with emails, and there's a lot of information online as well. One of the things I could recommend is just typing in successful email campaigns or something like that, Googling those things, because you'll find some really neat stuff out there. There's some really interesting ways of getting people's attention. You don't have to be a creative genius, though, in order to be successful with email. The email as a marketing thing and as a mode of communication between businesses and customers, it's highly regular and normalized, and so people, they're not generally going to be upset by getting these emails from you. And if you just have a few sentences about your new product or whatever it is that you're trying to put out there, it's fine usually. Put an image, a button, a couple of sentences, and just stay in front of your customers, and they'll appreciate it. So I think now we'll throw it back to Brian, see if we have any questions out there.
Well, Scott, that was great. Thank you. But we are certainly not done yet. We do have a handful of questions. First question is actually a two-part question, Scott. First question is, how often should I send emails? And is there such a thing as too often?
Excellent question. There is, I don't think there is such a thing as too often. Let me answer the second question first. People will unsubscribe if they get too many emails, but it's not because they've gotten too many emails. It's because they've gotten too many emails that don't do anything for them. They don't offer enough value. And that's what happens if people, a lot of times if people unsubscribe, there's a little survey you'll see that asks you why. And some, one of the standard responses is, I get too many emails. But if you're providing enough value in every email, then they're not going to unsubscribe. Now, that's a difficult thing to do, but I would say if you have a client base that is likely to buy from you on a recurring basis, or at least multiple times a year, you can probably send something out at least once a week. And there are plenty of companies that send things out every single day. The thing to do there is to pay attention to those numbers, to those metrics, and see what happens. You might lose a few subscribers, but you might learn the outer limits of what your customers are willing to accept. So if you start sending one out every day and people are unsubscribing like crazy, then dial it back. In general, like I said, a minimum of once minimum of once a week, probably twice a week is pretty good for most companies too. Again, just make sure it's valuable and it's useful to those folks.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
This next question, another great question. This is actually something that I struggle with, so I can't wait to hear your opinion on this. What are the best days to send emails?
Well, I can tell you the two best days not to send emails. Generally speaking, Monday and Friday. Monday because people are busy. You're coming back into the office generally after a weekend, and I'm going to say this that for the B2B folks. Yeah, they're coming into the office after a weekend and they've got a million things going on they've got to pick up on. So any email is likely to get lost. Not likely, it's more likely to get lost on a Monday. Fridays, again, for B2B, sometimes people take off Fridays for the long weekend. I know it's one of my favorite things to do, which I don't really get to do, but so then again, it gets lost in the shuffle. Generally speaking, I like Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're talking B2C, generally the same days, but for different reasons. You can send things out on Saturday and Sunday, but people are very busy with their weekend and personal time, so they're just not checking email generally as much. So I'd say look at Tuesdays and Thursdays. Some email clients or email services will let you know which days are working best for your industry or which days have the highest success with the campaigns that you've sent. So use whatever data you can, again, based on your own lists. But Tuesdays and Thursdays are usually really good days.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was extremely helpful. A couple more questions, Scott. Another great question, and this is, I think, extremely important. How do I know if my emails are working?
Well, if you have defined specific goals for your emails, that is online sales or phone calls or form fills on your site or visits to your site or reviews of a video that you've put out, those should be fairly easy to determine. Again, I wouldn't just go on open rate or click rate. Those are the first two metrics, but we're all about attribution is really that's the measure of success. So when you've sold something, you have to be able to track it back. You can use Google Analytics. And again, if you want to go back to our earlier episodes of the Tight 20, we have one or two episodes on analytics, but integrating your email with analytics and looking at those numbers, seeing what people are doing once they've arrived at your site via an email click, that should help you understand the success of your campaigns as well. And again, if someone's calling, you can ask if they, are you calling because of an email? You can use call tracking software, which is something we absolutely advocate. That way you don't have to even ask them, you'll automatically know. But yeah, there are a number of different ways to do that. Again, analytics is absolutely an important part of that. And again, call tracking software, if you can do it.
Great, thank you. Last question for you, Scott. What is audience segmentation?
That's an advanced one. That's a good one. It sounds like a pretty fancy term. Segmentation basically is really just kind of organizing your email list into sort of buckets. And you can do that a lot of different ways. A lot of smaller businesses don't necessarily have a need for it, but it can be useful. For example, one of our clients, they sell certain machine parts that wear out. They just do over a certain period of time. So a useful segmentation for them is, hey, we can send out emails with these replacement parts to just this segment of our client base that owns these machines. That's one type of thing that you can do. So really, it's just about how can we subdivide or tag our email list in ways that we can send them more specific messages that are specific to their individual needs or their individual interests. That's really what that's about. Again, if you have a small audience or a limited number of products or services that you're working with, you probably don't need to segment your audience. The bigger it is, though, the more you want to possibly look at different ways to do that. Because again, the more tailored your message is to those specific needs of those segments, the higher likelihood you'll get them to convert into a customer or another sale.
Great. Fantastic. Scott, thank you so much. That is going to wrap up all of the questions we have today.
All right, great. Well, listen, thank you again, everyone. We really do appreciate you guys checking this out. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us, ballyhodigital.com. We'll be back in about 3 weeks. I think this is going to probably do it for email, unless we get some other questions in the meantime that we want to go back to. But we will, I think we'll start in 3 weeks. We'll start our series on search engine optimization, which is going to be a lot of fun and super interesting. So again, thanks very much. Be sure to check us out. And if you want to see any of our previous episodes, check us out on YouTube. And we also post them on our LinkedIn page as well. So have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll see you guys soon.